Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Friday, April 5th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card we are starting our day off with today. It's the Ace of Cups, my friend. Guys, I know. It's intense energy. It's intense energy. It's the eclipse. It's the eclipse energy on top of the Mercury retrograde. It's a lot. And I need to stress that one of the things that we see that is happening right now, that you need to make sure that you are grounding. I want everybody drinking their water. I want everybody grounding. I want everybody to practice their self-care techniques right now. Because what we're effectively energetically seeing right now is whatever you feel, whatever you're feeling. This is why we were doing all of that pre-gaming work prior to this eclipse season starting. Whatever you are feeling, it's not that you haven't felt different. It's going to feel like it is amplified. So if you're, and I have to say that this is going to be something that feels a little bit on a case-by-case basis, depending on where you are astrologically aligned in terms of experiencing eclipse energy. Some of this energy is going to feel like a lot of that amplification of what, like if you're feeling happy, you're going to feel very, very, very happy. If you're feeling low, you might feel very, very, very low. That's why it is integral. It is integral right now to do everything you can to maintain a sense of energetic balance, because the more that you can build that sense of energetic balance, the more that it will feel like the amplification point of the energetic balance. One of the things that we're also seeing that's happening right now, okay? I told you it's this princess in the pea effect. Things that feel like you might have been minor inconveniences, things that might have been the minorest inconvenience just a few days ago. The ability to feel like something is being blown energetically out of proportion right now is going to be extremely high. And that is why we have to utilize a lot of work in this time to make sure that we're not feeling triggered, to make sure that we're not feeling overwhelmed, to make sure that we're not overreacting to things, being able to look at things with a sense of clarity, with a sense of intentionality, letting that be a moment where you don't amplify the negative, but you pour positive on the negative to bring that sense of balance back in is going to be key. Across all of the energetic spectrums, masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. This is why we see that all of that energetic spring cleaning you've been doing, whether it's been tangible or whether it's just been something that feels like that internal emotional spring cleaning. That's why this is so important right now, because being able to set some of that energetic path work prior to this point is building that sense of clarity, okay, between what you feel you can energetically change, right? What is something that is, if there's a disruption point that you're energetically feeling, I told you this is the gift of energy like this. It shines a light. It amplifies something that is small. It almost helps you see something that you might not have energetically seen so that you can address it. And that's how we can utilize this type of energy in a way that feels like it is functional. Because whatever that small thing is right now, it's going to feel like it's much bigger. It's going to feel like it's blown out of proportion. But what happens when you blow something out of proportion? You can see it. You can look at it more clearly. So being able to take this energy and let it be that moment of not letting something small become something large, this almost gives you a little bit of that indication on where something might go if you don't address it at the time that it is energetically small. So what we see even now is that ability to experience that. It is creating a space of understanding where you need to put that energetic work, where you need to keep that attention focused. Because as I said, I'm going to keep saying this, the retrogrades, the eclipses, they don't create new problems. They amplify something that is already there. And that in itself is the energetic gift that a time like this allows us. It helps us see something or feel something in a way that you can't energetically avoid it. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now. This path work feels a little bit better, if you will. Why? Because I'm telling you right now, the path work for the energy that's coming into divine union right now, there's something you can tangibly do with this type of energy, because there's so much of this shifting that we see here. A lot of this energy, right? While we see that for the energy in the divine union frequency, this feels like a little bit of splitting hairs, because this is that moment of looking at where you're feeling that energetic disruption and asking oneself, is this within me? Is this something that I need to unpack from within? Or is this something that can tangibly be adjusted without? We see here that the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency is doing a lot of that processing to try to ascertain what is an internal conflict point that only the self can amend and adjust for, versus what is something that is external, something that can be addressed and changed outside the self, i.e. being able to utilize the counterpart energy, right? That is the energy of the divine union. The divine union can work on a lot of that stuff on the outside, but it requires us to continue to do that deep work on the inside to be able to facilitate the work on the outside. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this doesn't feel so much like that outside process, because this is feeling the breakthrough point of feeling like you're already in energetic alignment with someone. The energy in the heart of the divine union is looking at one another and saying, are we on the same energetic page? I know we're carrying the same things, but are we here? Are we still energetically feeling the same way about how we're moving through this? While as the energy in the divine union frequency, coming into the divine union frequency, is feeling an energetic breakthrough, because you feel like you found a counterpart that is already like, that is what's happening. You found that is the energetic breakthrough point. So for a lot of the energy coming into the divine union frequency, this is that overwhelm feeling. This is just feeling that amplification of what you've been feeling. Right? And it almost like that inevitability feeling of what you've been building with someone that is so hard to put into words. That energetic connection may be feeling extremely amplified at this time. And it feels more like anything outside or beyond you. Like that is the focus of the energetic frustration, because that's that moment of like when you're really prioritizing something, everything else around you, like it gets more quiet in the background. So that's why we see that a lot of the energy right now that's coming into divine union, this is looking at things and trying to ascertain what is creating that energetic disruption point, so that you can facilitate that tangible clearing up of that circumstance to allow for a lot of that groundbreaking energy to feel like it's much more tangible. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now, this is where we see a lot of this energetic overwhelm is coming into play right now. Why? Because we are recognizing and identifying right now that ability of feeling like you are staying on your path work, feeling how difficult energetically that can be, it is creating a lot of this amplification on how you're feeling right now. And what's difficult for a lot of the feeling right now of the energy and separation is if there's amplification in frustration on that path work, it's going to feel like the amplification of the frustration. If you're in that energy where you're just trying to strive for peace, this is going to be the amplification of you wanting to really strive for peace. Now it is having a different impact depending on whether you align to masculine and feminine energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Now, for feminine energy, as I said, what is so difficult for a lot of the feminine energy in separation right now is that point of observation. A lot of the feminine energy is feeling and experiencing and seeing a lot of masculine energy that is potentially coming towards them at this time. We saw that all over the readings over the last few days. The difficulty and the hurdle for some of the feminine energy in separation is ascertaining and recognizing the difference between a masculine energy coming towards the feminine from a place of authenticity versus having the combination of authenticity with intentionality. And what happens when the feminine energy encounters masculine that feels like they've come halfway through their own healing journey. This is the feminine energy that potentially and previously would have almost reached out and grabbed the masculine at this point. Like would have almost helped not let the masculine come into that path work. Would have just almost volunteered their own energetic path work to help with that energetic sense of compassion to facilitate the partnership with a masculine energy. That's not happening here for a lot of the feminine energy and separation, because a lot of this karmic lesson that's coming through for a lot of the feminine energy and separation right now is how when the feminine leads forward and gives the masculine their own karmic lesson, they actually hinder the masculine from being able to grow energetically. That the feminine now recognizes and realizes that this is that moment that they don't want to like have the masculine energy just borrow their energetic homework. They need to see that the masculine energy has that same intentionality, has that same purpose. And that's why we see that this is so energetically difficult for a lot of the feminine energy and separation right now, because there's this overwhelming feeling of looking at circumstances and situations and saying to yourself, I could just go in there. And this is the feminine energy pulling back and going, no, I can't, right? That is that moment of not wanting to like step over someone, not wanting to interrupt someone's own progress. And almost like, again, what's so hard for a lot of the feminine energy and separation right now is potentially feeling a lot of that difficulty, that amplification, that desire to want to lead forth with the masculine in this way, but almost needing to see the masculine energy be able to bring forth to the feminine energy their own intentionality. Needing to see that on the part of the masculine, because this is the feminine energy that almost again feels like if I lead forward, if I give the masculine energy my own coursework, if I give them my own path, that's not going to build that sense of intentionality in the masculine. That's going to pour concrete on the fact that I found them in that place of energetic confusion, and I didn't allow them to find that or seek that within their own self. So this is why we see right now that for so much of this feminine energy, that amplification point of energetic emotion, it's huge. Like this is a lot of energy, but it's almost that feminine energy being able to integrate that feeling. And we see even now that could be a lot of compassion that is being poured into spaces or places. But we see even now that this is a lot of the feminine energy and separation needing to navigate through that energetic amplification of the overwhelm, of recognizing and identifying the desire to do something, but not wanting to energetically hurt something in the process, right? Like not wanting to step into someone else's healing journey. Masculine energy in separation right now. This is a lot of that moment, again, energetically. This is a masculine energy that is going through a process wherein, again, you're starting to build forth clear, honest communication with feminine. You may be recognizing that is half of the energetic coursework, because that is that moment that you may be understanding and recognizing that leading forth from an honest place with feminine, like, yes, it builds a different energetic connection, but it doesn't necessarily lead into that divine union frequency, because that ability to lead forth requires intentionality. And if you lead forth to feminine and you're just honest, but you're not intentional, then all the feminine energy is able to ascertain is that you're very, very authentically confused. Right? Like you're just very, very energetically, authentically, like from the bottom of your heart. This is almost a feminine energy going, I think you are amazing, and you are like wonderfully confused. You don't know which direction you're heading in, right? That is that GPS system coming into activation. So we see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy going through this right now, that sense of intentionality, recognizing and identifying that when you leave all of your options available, you effectively keep a lot of that stay in that shallow space energetically. Potentially even recognizing and identifying that when the feminine sees a masculine that feels like they're trying to keep all their options open, feminine closes their heart space to a certain extent, because they don't want to risk building into an intentional pathwork with someone that is saying almost like, I refuse to go deep with you. Like even now, we see that for a lot of the masculine energy, this is that energetic overwhelm. And again, feeling that sense that when you move forward with purpose, it requires that sense of energetic surrender in relationality to whatever you're letting go in the process, right? You can't energetically take everything with you in that way. That is that moment of guiding forward at this time. And we see that for a lot of the masculine energy at this moment, that ability of also recognizing and identifying that when you move forward with purpose, you surrender, you energetically surrender the outcome. Like that's the energy of the masculine doing that hard work. What did we talk about? Being able to blend authenticity with intentionality. Bringing those together can feel like the hardest thing at all, like in the world, because that is the heart of intimacy. That is leading forward with intentionality and intimacy, and it can feel extremely vulnerable as you do so, which is why we see that so much of this energy of masculine going through this process, it's hard. It's energetically difficult. It feels energetically overwhelming because that's that moment that, again, you're just allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling. And now with this time of year, this period of time, it feels like it is incredibly amplified, whatever you're feeling. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, second card in our 5-card spread for today. It can be overwhelming. It can feel energetically overwhelming. Why? Because I kind of warned you guys, like I told you prior to this eclipse season starting, whatever you're feeling, get ready to feel what you were feeling like a week ago. It's just going to feel like it's like times 3. You know what I mean? It's going to feel like it's just going to feel magnified, if you will. So even now, for the energy and separation, this is a lot of feeling some of that past energetic lesson, but also recognizing and feeling your present circumstance. So for a lot of the energy right now in separation, making room to be able to amplify the feeling. I'm going to say this because it's been coming through crazy right now. That ability of understanding and identifying, feeling very present in the moment, doing what you need to do to ground in the moment, while also feeling the expression or the expansiveness on what you've had to energetically surrender prior to this point. There could be a lot of this amplification, if you will, on some of that energetic grieving process, right? That's that moment that something that may have felt manageable last week might feel like it is like energetically deafening right now. But the reason that we're seeing this is because that amplification point is almost a reminder, especially if there's been periods of time that have occurred from the time that those circumstances occurred to where you find yourself now. Being able to experience something and to feel grief is a moment that you realize that you're energetically letting something go, because that is the moment of going through self-review to ask oneself, is there something else I could have done? And so for a lot of the energy right now, for again, a lot of the feminine energy, that feeling of energetic grief, holding space and almost reminding oneself, no, I did everything I would have energetically done, but potentially with an energy that wasn't moving in alignment with me. That is that moment of karmic release. Because that is the moment that you move further away from something and you recognize and identify that you wouldn't energetically change what you may have done. You're just feeling the validation point and the reaffirmation of the difficulty in not doing it with someone that feels like that it could have led to a different outcome. So even now we feel like that amplification that we're seeing here, it can feel energetically overwhelming, as it were. But this is almost that moment of allowing for that grief process to occur, because this is that moment of really feeling that energetic level or degree of surrender. Why is this happening right now? Well, especially, again, for a lot of this feminine energy to see new possibilities of masculine connection coming towards you, already feeling the change, having that change validate the fact that you're moving in the right direction, but seeing and recognizing something that doesn't feel like it's energetically ready yet, but moving in the right direction, that can be the amplification point of frustration. Because that's like, again, feeling the validation of going, I'm on the right track, I'm moving in the right direction, it's just not energetically here yet. And it just like feels like that point of like, you know, profound frustration because you're learning the energetic lesson. And it's harder when you're trying to break through your own patterns, because that's that moment that can feel very frustrating for a feminine, not seeing and recognizing what you're trying to manifest at this time, but seeing signs that you're moving in the right energetic direction. Masculine energy in separation right now. This could also be a moment that you are feeling the same amplification of the feminine. The only difference is that this may be feeling more like personal path work that is invested and required here. Because if this is masculine energy, that again, you're feeling like you're being authentic and open to feminine, it's validating. You're already feeling, you're seeing the energetic change, but it's not there yet. You're seeing even now there's one more thing you need to do There's one more thing you need to do, and it's the hardest thing possible, but because you have to meld, you have to go into that deep, deep vulnerability of leading forth with intention and honesty. This is like that Band-Aid ripping point that can feel so energetically difficult because it's feeling like you've already come so far, but you're not there yet. You're only halfway through the energetic lesson. So I'm telling you, if you're feeling this intensity right now, recognize that there are some things that we need to energetically feel. We need to energetically hurt to a certain extent, but that doesn't mean that we're moving in the wrong direction. It means that we're energetically healing. Masculine and feminine energy that are coming into the divine union right now, you're potentially feeling this because, again, this is the amplification point on how much it energetically took to be able to have that energetic breakthrough, right? This is that moment of, again, when we move into a new circumstance and we move into a new situation, when we move into a new energetic frequency, it's not like we become a whole different person. We've become the person that we needed to become to be able to inhabit that space or place. And even now, being able to navigate how much it energetically took to be able to have that breakthrough. It's that amplification of energy, if you will, that we see that a lot of the energy coming into divine union is experiencing, because it's almost that moment that could feel like the expression of that feeling of saying, I love you so much it hurts, right? But that's that moment of identifying and allowing oneself to say, I allow myself to feel enough that I'm not running from that energetic feeling. I'm allowing myself to feel the full magnitude of the expression of love, because love is a verb. Love is an active space. So being able to feel that, and even at this time, feeling a lot of that energetic overwhelm for it, it can feel very difficult, because love is a difficult energetic feeling. It's not always energetically easy. It can feel very overwhelming. But what are these energies right now doing in the divine, coming into the divine union frequency? You're energetically utilizing this time to stretch that muscle. It's almost that moment, I want to describe this as that way of saying, that incalculable moment of saying, I didn't know I could ever feel like this about someone. I didn't realize it was possible to feel like this about someone. That is that moment that we recognize and identify that when we feel that, it's not because we didn't have the ability to do so. It's because we weren't brave enough to do so. And our own ability to be able to inhabit that experience and not let it self-sabotage us or not let us move it away from our own purpose. That is that expansion point in feeling the full energetic frequency of love, which can at times feel energetically overwhelming. Masculine and feminine energy coming into in the heart of the divine union right now. This is that moment we're seeing even now, a lot of that energetic intensity that is occurring for a lot of the energy at the heart of the divine union frequency. I keep seeing that for a lot of this energy, it's going to feel a little bit like that Princess in the Pea effect. Something that may have felt small, navigable, manageable just a few days ago might not feel like that right now. It may feel like it's becoming very large. Why? That is that moment of being able to do something functional with it. That is that reminder that even in the divine union, that ability of being so hyper discerning. This is that moment of recognizing that for a lot of the energy in the divine union, there isn't anything that's a small problem, because small problems can become big problems very easily. All it takes is like an energetic shift like this to suddenly make something small feel very big. So this is why, to a certain extent, this is that moment that is being utilized to address things, even if they're small now, because this is that moment that they're going to feel a lot energetically bigger. It's like someone's small, like the small problem feels like it's a big issue, but that's that moment of almost being able to like magnify into it to say, like, let's get to the bottom of this. Is this something that you're feeling internally, which is something that needs to be navigated internally, or is this something that is external that we can modify, adjust for? Because that discernment point between what needs to be navigated within, that internal calibration versus what is can be adjusted outside to make someone feel more energetically comfortable. That is the level and degree of discernment that the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency is utilizing to navigate how to feel, like whether that work is requiring internal healing or external adjustment. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is, right? This is why we're seeing this right now. Especially, this is the thing that's so important and valuable right now for a lot of this energy that's in the divine union frequency. That ability, that recognition point, trying to create that sense of energetic comfort, even if these energies are moving towards manifestation goals. This is that sense, the difference of recognizing that even when we move towards a manifestation goal, we can't assume that the way we energetically feel is going to change just because something external happens, right? How we energetically feel happens within us. If we are feeling miserable, then anywhere you go, no matter what you receive, you will always feel energetically miserable. The external does not change the internal calibration of a frequency. It helps it. It can help facilitate it. But effectively and energetically, that moment of understanding that everywhere you go, there you effectively are, is what is helping navigate a lot of the energy that's in the heart of the divine union frequency. Because this is that like whistle while you work mentality. What's the point of moving towards a manifestation goal if you're not going to feel energetically joyous on the way? Because life is just moving from manifestation goal to manifestation goal to manifestation goal. Like that doesn't change. You reach one manifestation goal, you're not going to say to yourself, I'm done now. You're probably going to give yourself a new one. And that's why we even see now that ability of recognizing and saying, how do you feel right now? Imagine how you feel right now is how you're always going to feel, because that is the difference of being able to navigate forward towards a manifestation goal and say, I'm doing this from a place of energetic joy. I don't need that to be energetically happy because I found that happiness, that contentment in the present. That is the amplification point, as I said, in helping energy say to one another in the divine union frequency, hey, like, look at me. Are we good? Like, are we energetically good? Are we energetically good? Are we experiencing this moment from a place of happiness, contentment, and joy? Are there some small things that you might want to adjust? Okay, we can do that. That's something that can be adjusted for. But are we energetically in the same space? Because that ability to identify that we could be moving in the same experience with someone. And one person could be feeling like they are on cloud 9, and another person could be feeling like they are at the bottom of a ladder. That is the energetic difference that we see, that sense of energetic compassion that is occurring right now in the heart of the divine union frequency, because that is the moment of looking towards someone to a certain extent and saying, we are in the same place, but are we energetically in the same place? And if we're not in the same place, is there something that we can externally adjust and adapt for that would create that same sense, like being able to take something that feels like a bit of a problem and adjust for it and create like fix it? Or is this something that is happening on an internal level, something that can only be navigated from within? Because that is the difference. This is how discerning a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency is looking towards one another and saying, I want you to be energetically happy. I want to make sure that we are energetically happy. What do we do to facilitate that happiness? And let's be mindful enough to make sure that that feeling is one that we're inhabiting together. Masculine and feminine energy. And that's why this intensification is a positive, because it's taking wherever you feel, whatever you're feeling now, and it's making it bigger. You can't avoid it. It's going to help you have some of these conversations so long as you don't let yourself get energetically triggered because of it. Masculine and feminine energy. And that's why I'm going to keep saying this whole reading. Don't you dare let yourself get triggered today. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. This is that moment that you're feeling that level or degree of energetic overwhelm. And I'm telling you right now, for a lot of this energy, this is that feeling of like the heart expansion, right? Like, why am I feeling so happy? I feel so much. Like, this is that moment of someone almost saying, like, I care about someone so much. I just care about you so much. You know what I mean? Like, it's that moment that like can almost feel energetically overwhelming. Because one of the things that we're seeing right now for a lot of this energy moving into the divine union frequency is, again, that magnification point of how much you care about one another. It can feel energetically overwhelming at times, right? It's that like that big feeling. I've got big feelings. But what is happening for the energy in the divine union frequency? It almost hurts. Like, look, it almost hurts. This is the energy being like, I care about this person. I care about this person so much it hurts. But that's that feeling of just experiencing that moment of being like, well, this is what love feels like. Love isn't just that feeling of like happiness. Like, that's not love. Love is that moment that feels like it's so frustrating because you feel so happy and you also feel so, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's that top and bottom at the same time. A lot of the energy coming into divine union, don't let yourself get triggered today, because this is exactly the type of energy where someone's got big feelings. And this is the big feelings that, depending on how you navigate it, you could make a lot of headaches for yourself right now. Masculine and feminine energy and separation. This is going to feel like this is a big feeling. This is a lot for the energy and separation. I'm going to be completely honest. This is a lot of energy to feel in separation, because this is the magnification point in being able to navigate forward and recognizing that you're having an energetic breakthrough. And the energetic breakthrough wasn't just moving away from an energetic lesson. It's applying the lessons of the energetic lesson right now in the practice of the present. Now, why is that so overwhelming? Because for a lot of this energy, this is taking a lesson from the past and having to look at something and say, I learned my lesson. The minute you look at yourself in your own head and say, I learned my lesson, is the moment that you create some sense of energetic closure. The minute that you look at something and go, I've already departed from something enough that I'm utilizing it in the present to learn a lesson so as not to repeat something, is the moment that you have an energetic breakthrough, because suddenly you say, not only am I healing from something from the past, but I'm doing things necessary in the present to avoid it happening again. And so for a lot of the energy, realizing and recognizing that you've already moved into a mentality of something that you didn't recognize, that you kind of energetically closed a door on, suddenly having that moment of being able to reach into the toolbox of something that you left and say, I'm not doing that again because I learned this. That can feel energetically overwhelming, because that is a point of closure. That is a moment going, oh my gosh, it's over. It's over to such an extent. I'm utilizing things I learned from it in the present to make sure I don't repeat it. And that is the amplification of looking back on something and saying, I don't want that again. I'm breaking a pattern within myself. And that is that moment that could create a new grief process, because that is, again, having to energetically remember something in the practice of utilizing what you learned from it that can feel like you're letting go of it all over again. So that's that moment of, again, what happens when we feel energetic nostalgia, when we have karmic release, looking at something from the past and not saying regret, not saying I wish I could do something different, looking back and saying I'm doing something different in the present because I learned from the past, is the affirmation of not wanting to return back to a past because you're doing something different in the present. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is, it feels unfair. What happens? Why do we come into correction? Why do we come into correction? Because energy that is in separation says, it was unfair. What happened to me in the past was unfair, but I also take accountability on what I can change in the present to avoid the unfairness of what happened in the past to repeat itself. This is that foundational moment that we see that a lot of the energy in separation is utilizing that energetic lesson, putting that past path work into play. It feels energetically difficult. For a lot of this energy, it feels like it is oppositional to what you want to do. But that's what happens when we break a pattern. We look at something and say, it's hard for me to do this. It feels unfair I have to do it, but I know I have to do it because I'm trying to energetically heal. Feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. You're trying to stop yourself, especially if there's masculine energy that's coming towards you and they've only learned one half of their energetic lesson. They're coming to you from a state of honesty, but they seem to be lacking the intentionality or the path of purpose. This is feminine energy going, I can't go in there. I can't give that to them. I want to rush in. A past version of me knows exactly what I would do, and that's why I'm not doing it. I've already done that, and that this is where it's led me. I'm not going to repeat that energetic lesson. So for the feminine energy that has to feel the frustration of not wanting to do what they feel like they would energetically be inclined to do. Almost, I told you, for a lot of the feminine energy, feeling like you have to put some kind of tough love into play here. Resisting your own natural instinct to want to go in and give support energetically to someone, but almost saying to oneself, I need to let them learn that. I need to let them grow. I need them to find their own energetic path. It's not my place to do so. This feels really conflicting for feminine energy and separation, because not only does it make you remember the situation or circumstance that caused you to feel like this, but it also feels unfair that you have to do that because you don't energetically want to do that, but you're learning the energetic lesson as to why. So that feeling of unfairness is also recognizing that moment of energetic surrender, because that's that moment of feminine energy coming into realizing and understanding that deep, profound, energetic lesson of saying sometimes I need to let something be unbalanced so that it can find its own balance, right? Like that is the moment that we see that a lot of the feminine energy is going through right now. Masculine energy in separation. If this is a moment where you have worked through, you are leading forward, you've learned some kind of energetic lesson that led you to separation. You're trying to build forth from a place of honesty and clarity with feminine, because you've realized and recognized that when you build a world of illusion in feminine, you become trapped in that same world. The masculine energy trying to lead forth and lead honestly and openly with feminine right now. You may be seeing and feeling that energetic shift, but you may also be recognizing a lot of the feminine, healed feminine energy not opening up to you about their manifestation goals, not rushing forward to help you in that way. Why? Because that is one half of the energetic puzzle. And this is that moment that, again, recognizing that your own ability to be honest, there's honesty and there's honesty. Honesty needs intentionality. Honesty needs a pathwork. Honesty needs a purpose, because if not, all you're doing is you're being honest about the fact that you're energetically confused, right? How can we build forward into something? How can we build forward and have a unified dream if you're too afraid to reveal that dream? How can we do that? That the dream needs to be articulated. The dream needs to be put into words. But what happens with masculine? Having to blend the integrity, the authenticity, to take that authenticity and to combine it with the intentionality. It feels like you're trying to blend oil and water, because that's that moment that it feels so vulnerable to do so. For the masculine energy trying to do this work right now, this is almost finding and recognizing that like internal calibration point within the self that you're trying to bring together to a certain extent, and identifying and recognizing that, and almost saying to myself, why is it so hard for me to put these two things together? This is that moment that you recognize that that's because that's where intimacy lives. That is the heart of intimacy. And so we see right now that for a lot of the masculine energy going through this is that moment that is either calling you forward to try to identify and articulate what that path is, where your heart is guiding you that you want to add that authenticity to, or it's a moment of feeling the fear that happens when we have an energetic dream, because we recognize that often when we work so hard to protect our dream that we never have it a moment for it to really kind of come into the surface. We never really bring it forth for others to be able to share. So we see that a lot of the masculine energy right now, this feels like a lot of energetic overwhelm, because this is either that moment of feeling the recalibration and recognizing that there's some place you wanted to put that, and now there's some kind of pathwork here of fear in terms of going back to that space, or the anxiety and fear of being able to do so from a place of complete vulnerability going forward. Fifth card, masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. That imbalance point is feeling like that this is like the energy coming into divine union, just wanting to bring a lot of that energetically correct, right? What you're feeling right now, a lot of this energetic connection point that we see that a lot of the energy coming into divine union is feeling, it's almost like the world around you like doesn't match what you're energetically feeling. So what's happening right now? This is like that dun da da. Like this is the energy doing a lot right now to try to like build that sense of building the life that you're trying to create for yourself that feels like it's helping to match what you're energetically feeling. And a lot of it's going to feel like that externalized sense of looking around you and being like, this isn't fair, this isn't working for us, because all of that is giving you a moment of saying, where are we going to pour our effort and energy? Like, what do we need to correct? What do we need to fix? Where do we feel like is like unnecessary to a certain extent? Like, what can we effectively do in the external to make the feeling that we feel for each other a little bit more manageable on the day to day? Masculine and feminine energy that is in divine union frequency. This is why we see right now that there's so much of this is going to feel like some deep, deep discerning path work right now. Because this is a lot of that, this is a lot of that. And this is why intimacy is so difficult, because when we're in a space of intimacy, divine union, you can't energetically hide from someone emotionally. You can't spiritually hide from someone when you're in the divine union frequency. So that ability to recognize and identify, to almost see someone and know that there's something energetically wrong, right? Being able to like almost like unsaid, if you will, being able to observe something to a certain extent and say, hey, I mean, this is intense energy. I can see that you're a little like, it's like a little messed up by it. Is this something that is happening outside of you? Like, is this something that's like tangible that you can say like, I'm going through this. It's it's like annoying and I wish I could fix it. That's a fixable problem. Like that's an easy, like that's something that can be adjusted. Or is this creating a feeling of something within you? Are we still energetically on the same space? Because that's that moment that's helping right now a lot of the energy in the divine union to effectively navigate anything that feels like it is energetically disrupting. Because that is the moment of saying, is there something that can be tangibly adjusted to make you feel energetically better if there's that intensification point right now? Or is this indicative of some internal path work that needs to be resolved, that unnameable feeling, right? Like that's the difference about basically saying, are you moving into a state? Are you energetically content here? Or is this bringing up some kind of energetic discontentment that needs to be like unpacked, right? Because that is really foundational in the sense of, again, moving through circumstances and making sure that like you're both, the counterpart energies are on that same page, as opposed to one person feeling potentially happy and the other one not feeling energetically happy. Fifth card in our 5-card spread is, this is what we're seeing here. This is the important thing, because what happens in the frequency of the divine union, it's like when you're at a party, when you're at a party, like you don't want to see someone like sitting on the couch looking like they're having a miserable time, or in that moment of someone being like, I'm fine, and being like, I know that you're not fine. You look like you're energetically miserable. Like that's that moment. It feels like that point of, again, wanting to having this kind, like, what do we do? We have hard conversations. We do hard energetic work to be able, because we energetically care. Because we energetically care, we're willing to do that difficult work, because that's that moment of wanting to share and make sure that you're all energetically on the same page, that you're in that same energetic space. And this is that moment that we see that for a lot of the energy in the divine union, that observational point and being like, I want to make sure that like, if I'm feeling good, you're feeling good. Like we're in that space that we're not just moving together, that we're feeling together, that we're feeling the same way. So we see even now that a lot of that energy going through that right now is saying like, hey, like, are we here? Or is there something that we need to navigate? And if we're feeling that there's something we need to navigate, is it something that can be like, do we have to like move a sofa? Or is this something that's happening within you that needs to be energetically unpacked, right? A lot of that discernment is really important. And that's how we can utilize a lot of this intense energy and let it serve a very practical, functional purpose. It can be helpful. It's all helpful. There's always a way it can be used helpfully. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union. This is the energetic equivalent, if you will, of, again, navigating circumstances and experiences. This is a lot. This is so much easier for the energy coming into divine union, because there are fundamentally things that you can change. There are things that you can practically change. And we see a lot of this energy right now is doing a lot of that work to practically change something. And it's funny because it's almost creating celebration moments of energy around them being like, I'm so happy for you. And it's everybody else. And like the energy in the divine union is almost being like, well, we're not doing this because to make the energy around us happy. We're doing this because like, you know, it's removing a it's removing an imbalance, if you will. Like this is the difference between like, you know, again, we don't move into a different relationship dynamic experiencing or feeling like that's going to change how we feel about someone. This is that moment of this energy, like doing these things because it seems like the most logical, convenient thing, and everyone else around them like energetically celebrating, even if it's like creating a lot of this like friction point in doing this, because this is the energy that doesn't feel like it's affecting the energy between them. Like in terms of moving into some kind of deepening commitment space, this is almost the type of energy that feels like they're like just getting like the frustration out of the way. You know what I mean? Like we're just doing this to like make things easier going forward, if you will. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation. This is that moment that we see that, again, it's making sure, I got to say, making sure that you're grounding right now, making sure that you're reaching out to others, being able to like build on your energy around you right now is so important and vital. Because for a lot of this energetic intensity right now, what are we seeing that's happening for a lot of this energy in separation? A lot of this energy in separation is getting validation from a lot of the energy around them that is affirming their own path work. So this is what's really important right now. Not only is this energy in separation feeling the frustration and the unfairness of having to put that energetic lesson into practice, and not only is it triggering in doing so, because putting those lessons into practice in the present almost feels like the amplification of seeing something and wanting to avoid the repeating of a lesson right now. This is that moment that feels like, again, like a positive, but also an amplification of a negative, because for a lot of the energy doing so, even getting energetic support around you, if you're like trying to unpack and say, well, I'm doing this right now because like, I don't want that to happen again. This is like the energy around the energy in separation going, yes, like you're doing the right thing. Like, yes, we agree with you. You're doing the energetically right thing, but it's also, and so it's like, that's that sense of like, validation, but it's also frustration, right? Like that's that moment of being like, I know I'm doing the right thing, but it's not what I want to do. It's what I feel like I energetically have to do. So we see even now that for a lot of that energy, that is that expression point of experiencing how hard it is when we break through our own. This is energy that's like, again, not just looking towards external situations from the past and saying they were the energetic problem. This is the energy saying, I am committed. If there was someone that was in your sphere or in your realm that was the energetic problem, even then there's a moment of saying, what do I have to learn from that experience? How do I have to protect my energy? Having to go through that moment, that ability to take energetic accountability. And now we see a lot of that energy doing that necessary work, putting it into practice. That can feel, again, positive, seeing the fact that the energy around you is like, yes, even seeing, like feeling that immediate like shift, but also feeling the heaviness of having to do so, because that's that moment that you have to have that experience of remembering a hard lesson, even at the time that you know that you're making the right choice. Masculine energy in separation. This is that energy that, again, feels like that amplification point, because for a lot of this masculine energy in separation, it feels a lot like a characterization point in relationality to choice. Because for a lot of the energy of masculine, especially if there's spaces or places where you were trying to like energetically leave your options open, if you will, this is that moment that feels like that sense of recognition and understanding that even when one leaves one's options open, that's also an energetic choice. And that's why we see that for a lot of this energy of masculine, this observational point, this energetic commitment of pathwork that you're setting yourself on, it feels very energetically difficult. Because this is that moment that we recognize and identify that when we move forward from a place of energetic purpose, that is that moment that like, I just want to say that's that moment of not necessarily caring so much what the energy around us has to say about it, right? That's that moment of recognizing and identifying that, like, you know, that ability to like be intentional, even when in separation, has an energetic impact in the energy around you. Because this is that moment that we see right now that a lot of the masculine energy is trying to determine what it is that they truly aspire and desire going forward. And that ability to put it into words, we see even now, if there was too much of that consideration point on what the energy around you was going to do or react, or how they were going to be like accommodating. Like even now we see that that's that moment. Whenever we move on a pathwork of purpose, it always has some kind of energetic impact around us. And for a lot of the masculine energy right now, this may feel like that choice between the pathwork of the self versus the pathwork of maintaining some kind of like space or place with the energy around you right now. Those are different things, right? So we see even now that a lot of this masculine energy moving with that intentionality is not just something that feels like it's happening on the inside, but you're trying to feel that weight of how you're going to express it on the outside. Like, how are you going to put that into words? How is that going to be represented? How is that going to be energetically received? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ace of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Nine of Swords in its upright. Heavy energy today. Clarification coming through right now with our Strength card. Masculine and feminine energy and separation. This is that energetic strength training though. Again, masculine energy, if you're going through this process, if you're even having that point of recognizing or feeling some point of frustration, in feeling like you're understanding or recognizing something a little too late, remember, there's no lateness in terms of recognizing and learning a lesson. We learn the energetic lessons when we are ready to receive them. There's no clock. There's no clock that we're following. When we're energetically ready, we are energetically ready. So for a lot of the energy right now, masculine and feminine energy, I'm just saying this right now, do not feel frustrated with yourself. Do not feel frustrated with the path that you've had to take to be able to build this sense of energetic resilience to a certain extent, because that's what it took. Right? That's what it energetically took. It's not something that you can learn overnight. It's something that takes a lot of time. And so we see even now that feeling of coming into some kind of energetic strength, it's happening a little bit different depending on whether you align to masculine or feminine. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For feminine energy, this is that feeling of energetic resilience, seeing something around you right now that you may feel that need or desire to want to pour your time, effort, and energy into, but almost energetically stopping yourself to a certain extent and saying, it's not my space or place to do that. I can't give someone my pathwork. I need to see them have the same intentionality as I do in relationality to what we want to build forth together. Someone needs to be able to have the courage to say what they want in order for me to create with them. While for masculine energy, working through this same process, coming into that place of being energetically vulnerable enough to be able to not only lead towards feminine from a place of authenticity, but also to bring your intentionality into play, to express that energetic dream to the feminine, and to recognize that when you express an energetic dream to a feminine, there's a moment that requires you to, again, like you said, your options, you start moving. That's the difference between prioritizing feminine energy, leading forth from a state of intimacy, giving that intimacy to the feminine as you build with them, that ability to do so to a certain extent, that also feels like a massive moment of energetic strength, but it is an energetic strength through vulnerability. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, having that modality, having that ability to do so. This is that moment that we see that for a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now. This is that moment that feels like an energetic breakthrough, but it can also feel very triggering as you do so, because we even see here that the expression, the energetic feeling of love that is happening right now for a lot of this energy coming into divine union it feels like it's almost like it's like a very intense space to inhabit, because that's that moment of feeling like both sides of that like energy of love, which is that moment of how much you care about someone and how much fear that care can create, right? That's that expansive energy right now. But we see even now that for a lot of the energy coming into divine union, this feels like that moment that like you're like, I've never felt like this before. And that's that moment when someone says like, I've never felt like that before. It doesn't mean like I've never felt like this before and it feels great. This is like the energy being like, I don't know, it feels a little like I've never felt like this before. Like it's good, it's bad, it's good, it's bad. Like it's that moment of being like, it's both. Like it's like, you know, like that's like that expansiveness, right? Like that's that feeling, and that's what we see here, because that's that difficulty. That's that real engine of love taking on like that measurement, because that's the love that feels like the verb, right? That's the love that feels like the act of loving. It's hard because it feels so energetically vulnerable. But this is the energy that's learning the ability to do so. And it really is amplifying the fact that that feels like a perpetual, continual energetic choice. Because again, a lot of that is also navigating how much it energetically took to be able to find that pathwork, and it's one that you find from within. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union right now. This is why we feel like there's a lot of this bittersweet energy that we're seeing right now that is amplifying for the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, because this is that moment that again, that sense of care, that sense of energetic care, looking towards someone, being able to identify if there's an issue or certain problem there before someone else can even articulate it. That sense of energetic intimacy, almost feeling like you can't energetically hide from someone, because the more that you're in the heart of the frequency, the more you recognize and identify of the other. This is almost that moment that we see as requiring that level or degree of energetic discernment, because again, it's being characterized right now and being able to say, hey, is this something that we can change? Is this something outside of the self that needs to come into this like modification point? Or is this something that's happening within? Is this something that's happening internally? Is this something that needs to be, is this something that needs to be navigated within, like on the inside? Because that's the difference, that even when we're in the divine union frequency, there is that connection point that we can't reach that is within each of us. And that's why we see that for a lot of the energy in this modality, that sense of saying like, hey, I know we're in the same place, but are we in the same place? Like a lot of that heavy work coming to bear today. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Nine of Swords in combination. Look at these double nines we've got here. Look at this, double nines here. Big cards today. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with our Three of Pentacles in its reversal. Because again, what is the energy at the heart of the divine union frequency almost saying to one another at this time? This is that moment that says, being in the divine union frequency, a lot of this energy, it changes you. Things don't stay static in that frequency. Things continue to proceed forward. Having that time of continually recognizing how far you've come from the time of entering the divine union frequency is really important, because look how difficult this is. Not only have things changed around the energy in the divine union frequency, but also the energy itself has been changing, has been evolving. And this is why even now this almost feels like a moment of having some kind of energetic check-in, if you will, to be able to look towards counterpart and say, listen, are you feeling energetically good right now? Are we energetically in the same place? Is this a place that is creating that sense of positivity, of excitement? Or is there something here that's tipping the scales that is feeling too much like anxiety and doubt and fear? Because that is that moment of recognizing that even when we're inhabiting the same space, we could be having profoundly different experiences in the same space. So that's why we see even now that ability to look towards the other with a sense of energetic compassion and say, are we actually inhabiting energetically the same space at this time. That is to be able to maintain and navigate as you continue to move forward with your manifestations. And this is why we see even now there's a lot of that sensitivity in saying, is this something that we can externally change? Or is this something that's internally happening within you? Because that's the difference about feeling like you're joyfully moving from one manifestation goal to another. Always feeling that sense of positivity every step of the way. Or if you're feeling like that ability, like if that is coming into that externalized point of being like, no, I'll feel better once this happens. I'll feel better once that happens. Like that's that moment that needs to almost be calibrated for, because that's the difference in terms of recognizing that the way that we energetically feel to a certain extent, tangibles don't change who we are internally. They just don't. You can have whatever you want, but if you're not in that place of joyousness, you're not going to be able to feel the way that you want to feel. So that's why we see even now, like there's so much of this, like careful, like honest conversation that is happening in these spaces and places to be able to say, are we still energetically united in the divine union frequency? Because that is like the prioritization point for a lot of the energy inhabiting that frequency. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into the divine union frequency, you're having this energetic breakthrough. This energetic breakthrough is why you're moving so deeply into the heart of the divine union frequency, because you're feeling like what you have is like all encompassing. It's that moment that you're just like navigating the fact that you're trying to bring it into the external reality point. And that's frustrating because, again, it's like what you feel on the inside is something that you need to like navigate and adjust for on the outside. And that's just more of like an energetic headache, if you will. Masculine, but it's also energetically overwhelming because this is almost that feeling like as you do so, it's like what you're feeling between yourselves, like it just grows. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is why we see this feels so frustrating for a lot of the energy right now in the separation, because this is that moment. I want to just amplify it. It feels like for both of these energies, it feels like being halfway stuck in an energetic lesson. Why? Because we're seeing here for a lot of the feminine energy, potentially seeing a lot of that masculine coming towards you right now with honesty, but lacking intentionality. That could feel very frustrating because you're already seeing the fact that you're moving in the right direction, but it's not energetically there yet. So this is almost the feminine energy, feeling that need or that desire to want to rush in and being like, no, I need to utilize the past work from the past to continue to move forward in this direction, even if it's not energetically there yet. So we see even now for a lot of the feminine energy doing this work, it can almost feel like a limbo period, if you will, because again, it's not the fact that things aren't moving in a positive direction. It's just that they're not energetically there yet. And that's what's frustrating, because like a part of you sees the possibility of going back and being like, no, I'm catching myself. I can't do that. I can't reach in and help someone if they're only halfway on that path. They need to come fully towards me with their intentionality. Masculine energy. If you are in separation, and again, you've been leading forward from feminine with a state of authenticity, but you're already noticing the fact that the feminine energy is being very authentic about the fact that you seem very energetically confused. And like almost potentially even saying, well, it seems like you're not sure which direction you want to head in, or it seems like you're trying to keep your energetic possibilities open. This is masculine energy that you potentially feel like you're caught halfway in some kind of like energetic journeying, because this is that moment of recognizing and identifying that if you don't lead forward with intentionality to the feminine's always going to keep like a little bit of like that restriction point towards you, right? Like that's the feminine energy being like, again, potentially even like some energy like moving some masculine right now into the friendship zone, because this is the feminine energy trying to like protect their heart space from someone it seems like isn't energetically sure what direction they want to move in. So we see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy, this feels very difficult because you are also kind of caught in that like limbo moment where you recognize and identify that you're seeing like productivity here. You're seeing the fact that something here is like having a different impact, but it's not energetically there yet. So both of these energies right now kind of caught in the same space for different reasons. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Nine of Pentacles and our Justice in its reversal. Clarification coming through right now with, and this is what's so hard about this, Ace of Swords. A lot of this energy right now feeling like they have to make a hard energetic choice, but also knowing that sometimes the validation point in making the right decision is doing the hard thing. Sometimes that's the best validation that we have. Doing the hard thing doesn't mean that's not the right thing. In fact, often doing the hard thing is the amplification point and feeling like one is doing the right thing energetically to a certain extent. Masculine and feminine energy. In separation, what's the feminine energy doing right now? Feminine energy working really hard to continue to maintain the energetic stability that they've been creating for themselves in separation. Observing and seeing an energetic imbalance around them, even potentially recognizing their own ability to just reach in and start to energetically like tip a scale or something here and going, no, I'm not doing that. Like almost like again saying, I can't, I'm not doing that. Because while it may create that space of reaching forward and having something like, you know, like bringing something in, if you will, giving the masculine like that energetic, like energetic bone, if you will, like giving them like even now, like the feminine being like, I know what I want. They seem like they don't know what they want. I bet if I just came forward and led forward with that, like I could push things forward. This is the feminine going, no. This is the feminine going, I can't. Because this is the feminine energy looking at past experiences and saying, I've seen what happens when the masculine doesn't lead forth with me with intentionality. I see what happens. I've seen those moments in the past where my own ability to set that path work, it doesn't feel like it comes from that state or space of the masculine, like fully being intentional. It doesn't feel like it creates that sense of intentionality. It creates that energy. This is almost feminine saying, like when I lead forward in this way and masculine doesn't show the ability to do same, it feels like I end up being the energetic lead in the relationship. And then the masculine inevitably resents me for it. Right? That's the feminine energy almost saying, I have the ability to lead forth in this way. I need to see that we're building together. I need to see that energy is able to articulate what their path is. They need to be able to tell me what their dream is. Because if I don't see a masculine that has the confidence to articulate on their dream, that doesn't have the courage or the confidence to articulate on what their dream is, that is something that isn't going to energetically go away. That is going to be the nature of our energetic relationship. And this is the feminine energy going, I can't assume that something is there that I cannot see. So I can't assume that I know what this energy's energetic dream is and they're just being shy about it. I need to assume that if they're not expressing it, it's not energetically there. Because either it's not there, as in they don't have that path or purpose, or they're too shy. They haven't learned the ability to be intimate enough to reveal it. In either way, it doesn't matter because it's the same. It doesn't matter what the reason is if the outcome is the same. And that's what's so difficult for a lot of the feminine energy in this modality. This is often why the feminine leads forth in this way, because the feminine is almost looking to the masculine being like, maybe they're just too shy to express it. Maybe they are. But your ability to be forward in that way doesn't necessarily bring it out. It may just continue to create a space where masculine can remain not being able to express what their dream is. Masculine energy, you may be recognizing and identifying in separation. You may even be looking at path work now where you may have recognized there were opportunities where you could have had that dream in the past if you had been more able to express it. So what we see for a lot of the masculine energy right now, again, if you're leading forth more authentically with feminine right now and you're seeing that abrupt shift, there's that recognition point right now in identifying and recognizing the difference between just leading forward honestly, but leading forward honestly and setting your intention, giving your dream to the feminine, Again, that's either one that you feel like that resistance point because you realize that when you do so, it feels like that is the prioritization of a feminine by being open in that way. Or it's that moment that feels like that deep, profound intimacy in the confidence it takes to be able to put that point of vulnerability out, something that you care about so deeply, recognizing that when you do so, that's a moment that it can either be accepted or rejected. So we see even now a lot of the masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to doing this work. It feels really, really energetically difficult, but this is almost going through a personal hurdle to be able to identify what could be a personal breakthrough. How can you have what you aspire and desire if you have the fear of putting it into words? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Between our Justice card in its reversal in combination with our Three of Cups. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, we've got all the 9 cards out right now, almost all of them. We're missing one 9 card right now. So this is like clarification coming through right now with our 9 of Cups. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is that moment of really, and this is where the advantage to this intensity really comes to bear, because this ability to feel the full breadth of what you're experiencing. And even now, I'm like, it's like the accordion effect. It's like that moment of feeling both the positive and the negative of something, right? Like that's that heart opening. Like even now, like that moment of potentially even feeling the unfairness of a circumstance or situation, but just letting it, not letting it close you off, but letting it just kind of like integrate in, if you will. Feeling that validation, like that's the ability. What do we do? What do we do? How do we navigate circumstances and situations wherein we feel like they were unfair in the past? The gift of being in the present is that they always creates a moment to be able to take something that was energetically unfair in the past and make it correct in the present. That is why we have the gift of memory, because that ability to look back and say that wasn't energetically fair. Having that point of energetic accountability and saying, I can't adjust the circumstances from the past, but I can do everything I can in the present to be able to come into a point of rightness, to be able to come into a point of energetic balance. This is that moment that like we see some level or degree of energetic catharsis, if you will, because that is that moment that feels like the expression and the expansion point in some degree of energetic understanding on what you can do now to help heal any of this unhealed karmic energy from the past. And for both masculine and feminine energy, we see that you're both kind of halfway through that process right now. And a lot of that is coming into that space of recognizing and identifying what it is that you truly want. And also understanding what you don't want to be able to avoid that occurring. So we see even now for a lot of the feminine energy, this is feminine energy. If they're not seeing that masculine energy coming towards them with that intentionality, this is the feminines going, I can't presume that masculine will become intentional if I let them energetically towards me. I can't assume that intentionality is going to come after the fact. I have to assume that if it's not there, it's not energetically present. And that's the feminine energy, almost feeling the validation from the other energy around them saying like, yes, that's correct. Masculine energy, if in separation, this is that moment that we see that is that moment that if you're being honest, but you're only being honest halfway, if you're just being honest with the feminine, but you're not revealing your intentionality, then that's not actually honesty, right? You can be as honest as you want, but that's that moment that, again, if you want the feminine to be open and intentional and reveal to you what they truly want, like what they truly desire, you need to lead forth with that. Because that's that moment, again, of identifying what may have felt like an energetic imbalance in the past. And again, if there's a lot of feminine energy that like you either feel like you haven't been able to build an intense connection with, you have to ask yourself, like the masculine needs to say to himself, have I ever given the feminine energy the indication that I was invested in building an intimate experience specifically with that feminine energy? Or was my own anxiety or resistance to doing so either for fear of estranging myself from other feminine energy, or from my own fear in revealing my own dream to a feminine? Have I been blocking my own energetic blessing because that imbalance is actually within me, and the feminine energy around me has always been reflecting it? Continuing to get clarification between our Strength card in combination with our Three of Pentacles in its reversal. Whoop, there it comes flying out. Flying out. I'm sorry. I did forget. The masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is the energy doing so. This is the energy building forward together. That intimacy is growing, if you will. And that ability to grow this right now feels like an energetic celebration point, which is why for the energy in the divine union, this feels like a moment of potential celebration for energy just coming into the divine union frequency, because it feels like you're taking all of that imbalance from the past and you're correcting it in the present, just as we saw for the energy that aspires for that in separation. Masculine and feminine in the heart of the divine union frequency right now, this is that moment of being overly critical on anything that feels like an imbalance, because that is that recognition point that small imbalances can disrupt energetic positivity. This is that moment of being like, yeah, we're going to be a little bit energetically discerning here, because it's always that little thing that becomes the big thing. So we got to get like, this is that moment of someone being like, well, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. That's because the energy of the eclipse is making the molehill into a mountain to tell you that one day that could energetically occur. You're just like feeling that preemptively now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between the Strength card and our Three of Pentacles in its reversal. We've got here our King of Wands. Masculine and feminine energy right now in the heart of the divine union frequency. What are we energetically seeing is happening right now? There is something that's very important that's happening right now, specifically for masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Masculine energy, even at this moment, I want to say that there's something here that feels, there's this energy right now. I just got to stress, this is having a big impact on the masculine energy. This is very intense. This is very intense energy. And we're seeing specifically for the masculine, one of the things that may be coming through right now is, I'm going to say it, I don't want anybody getting triggered today. Absolutely not. Nobody get triggered today, especially masculine, because there's a moment here that we see even now, that energetic displeasure point. Remember what I articulated here? Seeing something, feeling the heightened energetic frustration on something that may have felt manageable just a little while ago, especially the masculine energy and separation. I want you to ask yourself how you felt a few days ago about whatever that's driving you like now, because this is that moment that we're seeing to a certain extent that it could have an even like bigger impact, especially on the masculine energy, because this is that moment that like your own ability of like saying something, energetically frustrating or feeling energetically frustrated. A lot of this, I'll put it this way, this is leading, I got to stress, if utilized in the right way, this could be the type of energy that's going to lead to a lot of potential energetic breakthroughs right now, right? Feeling frustration fuels breakthroughs. Frustration fuels breakthroughs, right? If utilized in a non-helpful manner, this could lead to a lot of fractious conversations today. Potentially someone putting their foot in their mouth. Potentially someone saying something that like they feel a little rocky or unstable about. So now is like a moment, like again, if you want to like conceive of an idea today, awesome. If you want to like enact an idea today, maybe slow down a little bit. Because this is that kind of moment that this is like the type of energy that can fuel a sudden inspiration, but that may need a little bit of nuancing. So just make sure that I'm going to say it again. Please don't be reactive today. Let this like be something that you channel into a creative space or place. Feminine energy, same thing to a certain extent. Especially, and again, I told you the gift of having a like a molehill turn into a mountain today is not because, I'm going to put it this way, is not because the molehill is a mountain. Okay, it is the energetic equivalent of that, but it does give you some kind of insight today on something that you want to navigate or address, because this is that feeling of like, you're almost getting like that energetic equivalent of feeling something bigger, but recognizing that might not be the natural state of it, but it is something that you may want to address so that it doesn't become bigger one day, right? Like that is something that requires, it allows for energetic breakthroughs, right? Because there's a lot of this energetic observation that is occurring around circumstances and situations right now. And the same here goes. I need to stress this right now. Remember what I kept saying for the energy? What did we keep saying for the energy that's happening right now? Recognizing the difference. I need to stress this for the feminine. Okay, I need to stress this for the feminine. Between what you're internally experiencing, right? Something that you're feeling is off internally, that you need to navigate from within, versus what is something that can actually fundamentally be changed in relationality to something external around you. Making sure that you're not projecting something or subjecting someone to your emotions because something that you're feeling internally that is outside of someone else's control to adjust or modify for the feminine right now is really key for the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. Okay? That's the difference between asking someone for energetic assistance versus feeling like you're burdening someone with something that feels like it's an energetically impossible task. And that's why we see so much of this energy right now doing that type of discernment to ascertain whether there's something here that can be modified for or something that needs to be internally processed. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is a lot easier right now because there's a lot of things you can functionally change to navigate how you're internally feeling. And that's why we see that there's a lot of plans that are potentially changing right now. This could even be energy like speeding up any sort of processes in relationality to coming into better tangible union right now. But again, this could be a lot of energy today. It wants to make like some kind of grand sweeping gestures because the energetic feeling that they're having right now is so overwhelming. So I'm going to say the same thing I just said for the energy in the heart of the divine union. Let this be a day that you channel that into an inspiring idea, as opposed to doing something that you're feeling in the heat of the moment that you may decide that you energetically change once this energy slows down a little bit. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. I'm going to say the same exact thing to you today. I gotta say this right now. I told you there's a lot of past path work that is occurring right now. And that path work is going to amplify a lot of some energetic feelings. So if you've got some uncozy feelings about someone from the past today, they may come roaring to the surface. Just make sure that you don't, it's a wretch. You guys know, I shouldn't have to tell you this, but I guess I do. Please make sure that you don't like pop off today. Make sure that you don't pop off. Make sure that intensity of something that you're remembering from the past doesn't open some kind of like energetic channel, if you will, that doesn't feel like it's going to be productive and helpful going forward so much as it may feel like it's, like, I want to say, like, digging into some kind of energetic wound here that's rising to the surface, because I'm getting a lot of this, like, pulling back energy to a certain extent on some, like, we've got some very triggering cards here. We've got the Justice in its reversal. We've got the energy feeling amped up by the energy around them, like encouraging them forward. We got the Ace of Swords here. We've got the Nine of Swords, and then we've got this, which is, some of this could potentially lead to, like, looking and being like, it's you, like, it's your, like, it could create a little bit of that, like that frustration energy that we want to, like, process through. Make sure that you're not projecting today. Recognize that, like, you know, it's very easy to, like, want to push that accountability off, but being able to identify and recognize, again, moving through things with a state of gratitude and understanding is going to be very important and key. And especially because we see here that for a lot of the energy and separation, not only is the feminine feeling like that towards some energy of the masculine, like of some of that energetic frustration in someone not being where you hope or aspire them to be, but also some of the masculine potentially right now feeling some of that energetic frustration right now and feeling like they're trying to utilize a lot of strength not to repeat unhealthy past patterns. So a lot of this, being able to utilize this to inspire you forward through breakthrough energy instead of something that feels more just energetically oppositional, is really valuable and important right now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards between our Three of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Ace of Swords. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, whoo, that's what we like to see. Whoo, that's what we need to do today. Whoo, just like breathe through it. Phone a friend. Everybody, I'm telling you right now, don't you dare. Phone a friend. Phone a friend. Phone a friend. Phone a friend, phone a friend, okay? Think about how to navigate through this type of energy with this intensity. Build up on the positive. Talk through it with the energy that you know you are in energetic alignment with today. It is not the day. I know you're feeling, I know you're like, I can already hear some of that engine cranking up. Someone being like, I'm gonna call it, don't channel it through some productive space or place. Just let that be a moment that, like, feels like that energetic injustice or that frustration is one that you can help to, like, energetically carry and lift, if you will, and recommend and understanding. Let that help navigate you through breakthrough. Right? And what happens sometimes when we go through an energetic breakthrough, it can be very common for us to, like, want to take that breakthrough energy and, like, drive it through, like have it come through a place or space of feeling some kind of energetic frustration, right? That breakthrough can also create a little bit of that, like, energetic, like, that passionate energy, okay? Making sure that you're channeling that passionate energy into what feels like it is good, like new ground, building forth in a new way, not letting it become something that feels like you're creating a demolition zone. Let that be a moment of rebuilding instead of demolishing today, is basically the best thing I can say to a certain extent, because the ability to do both today is very much here. So make sure that you're putting that, I told you, anything you're feeling right now, your intentionality is really important. Make sure you're channeling it into a space or place that it feels like it is helpful and productive instead of deconstructive, okay? That's the best thing I can say. And a lot of that, you can help with a lot of building that energetic connection right now in those around you that feel like they help create that supportive space. This is not a time to, like, mend a fence. This is a time to lean on the energetic fences that you currently have. I'm going to say that for all of the energy at play across the whole frequency, all of it. The energy coming into divine union right now, the energy in the heart of it. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ace of Swords in combination with our Nine of Cups. This is some of that progress that we want to see. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through. Thank goodness we've got our Two of Cups here. And that's what we're seeing here. Like, again, and the thing about this, I got to stress, the problem with a day like today is that it's really top bottom. It's really energetically top bottom. I told you, whatever you're feeling is going to feel amplified today. So if you're low, you're going to feel really low. If you're high, you're going to feel really high. I'm stressing to be able to do everything you can to try to stay nice and balanced today. I want you just to think about that balance. Don't say to yourself, today is not a day. Today is not the day to say, what do I feel like doing? Okay. Today is not that day. Today is the day to say to oneself, what will help me feel balanced? What will help me feel content? And recognizing that takes work. That doesn't necessarily mean, again, that is the energetic sense of working towards that. It's not just letting yourself ride the energetic current of where you are, but doing everything you can to stay in that energetic balance right now is really fundamental and key. Energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, you're better, like, this is something that you work on actively. Like, this is a lot of that work. Like, I keep getting love as the verb today. Like, this is that moment. Today is one of those days that feels like you're really like stretching that energetic muscle, if you will, today. Doing a lot of that energetic effort to be able to create that sense of balance. And that balance is one that's requiring a lot of energetic inquiry, because that's that moment of looking towards counterpart energy and saying, are we in the same space? Are we in the same energetic frequency? Are we energetically there? Is this something that we are sharing, or is this something that requires some kind of external modification point on, right? Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency. This is that modality that we are effectively or energetically seeing, that this is that moment that feels like one of the reasons that so much of this is going to be I got to say, this is the most helpful energy for the energy coming into divine union. There's like, I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of like news about people coming into like deepened divine union connections over the next couple of days. Cause I just keep seeing the fact that this is that moment that just feels like a lot of like, even this moment, like if there's any of this energy that feels like it's energetically disruptive, if you will, this is not energy that's pulling energy out of union right now. This is the stuff that's like, these are like the ties that bind, if you will. This is like this is like the stuff being like, remember that thing that happened? We really like, that was the moment I knew. It's like that type of energy that we've been seeing that's happening right now. So this is a lot of that energy, like just really fortifying a lot of these energetic connections. While as for masculine and feminine energy in separation right now, this is focusing on the manifestation goal. And even now, what feels so energetically difficult about this isn't just that moment that feels like it's fine. I'm just going to think about the manifestation goal, and then that'll just make it appear. No, it's that recommendation point, it's that point of recognizing that thinking about what you want is only half the battle. The other part is energetically doing it. The other part is the hard work of making that the practical choices that you need to make today. So for a lot of the energy right now that's in separation, that moment that feels like the vibrational difference between just thinking about something versus actually like doing the things energetically necessary to manifest something forward right now. It feels like a lot of that like difficult work, because this is a moment that we even see that like a lot of this energy and separation, finding oneself at this moment, it's like having a point of seeing some things right now that feel like they're almost on the way to what you want, but they're not quite there. And then feeling that like ability to potentially like almost want to like slip back into a past habit here to help facilitate something coming together sooner. This is one of those moments that feels like this like knuckle biting moment of saying like, no, I need to like put into practice what I'm saying I want to energetically do. And so even now we see that that's that moment for feminine energy, holding forward in terms of what it truly feels like to be able to build forth with masculine, recognizing and identifying a masculine that, like, again, has both the authenticity, the honesty, but also the means of coming towards the feminine with intentionality to build that type of energetic connection. Like, that's that moment that feels like that's difficult because that's the feminine energy almost waiting for that to a certain extent. While for masculine, this is that energetic moment that you're potentially recognizing and realizing that you can be authentic and have a lot of like shallow connections, or you can move with intentionality towards a single energetic connection. Those are different things, and that has to do a lot with your own ability to amplify what it is that you truly desire. This is a lot of masculine energy, again, in separation, truly asking themselves if they truly aspire and desire for divine union right now, and recognizing and truly identifying what it energetically takes to be able to move towards that. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our King of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Two of Cups. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Four of Wands. So for a lot of the energy right now in separation, one of the things that I think that is really going to help right now for a lot of this energy in separation is focusing on the long-term outcome. It really does require a little bit of that, like casting one's eye forward to a certain extent and thinking about that. And again, I need to stress that doesn't mean saying to oneself, well, as long as I have that, I'll feel energetically better. But being able to really have that moment in terms of identifying what you feel you energetically need to be able to build towards that manifestation goal, that is that moment that we see that a lot of the feminine energy in separation right now is reaffirming to themselves and saying the only way I can move towards a manifestation goal is if I'm working with an energy that's able to show me that they also desire that in kind. So we see even now that that's the feminine energy, potentially even now at this time, a lot of concentration either on past connections of masculine that were showing some kind of inability to do so, that either felt like, again, it was more about like pulling against each other as opposed to moving together, like moving along with each other together. And even now, potentially feeling a moment of being able to put that past experience into energetic practice to be able to discern if there's something here. And there's a big if here with some of these new connections that feminine's making. If there's something here that's coming into a healing vibration versus something that feels like it might be energetically repeating, starting to repeat some kind of energetic lesson. And even now, it's like taking that moment of feminine, having to be a little bit energetically resilient, if in a way, to be able to see if the masculine has that energetic confidence or that desire to lead forward with telling the feminine what they truly dream. Masculine energy in separation, this is that moment that you may recognize and identify. How can you have what you want with feminine if you're not brave enough or confident enough to tell them that? For a lot of the masculine energy right now, if there is an energetic moment that you are recognizing and identifying wherein, again, either you are ambiguous to a feminine as to what you wanted, you kind of let the feminine energetically lead you forward in a way, and then you got resentful about the fact that they were guiding you down a path that you never articulated where you desired to go. Or if this is a masculine energy that was intentionally resistant in terms of telling the feminine where you aspired and desired to go with them, and then you were surprised that there was some kind of resistance point in going in that direction, we see for masculine, this is that energetic feeling of saying, I cannot get what I desire unless I'm willing to have the confidence, the authenticity, intentionality to be able to share that expression with an energy. That's the difference between moving joyously towards something versus feeling like I'm energetically manipulating a circumstance or experience, even if I don't intend to. When I don't reveal what it is that I desire, but I continue to move forward in that direction, that's might be bypassing of intimacy, but it also feels like energetic manipulation. If you don't tell someone where you want to go, but you're pulling in a direction, it's pretty clear that you have a direction that you want to go in. That's why it's so valuable and important to be able to lead forth and be able to express that, So it doesn't feel like something that, again, creates that space or place where you feel like you're either being portrayed as like, potentially your own lack or fear of intimacy, creating a moment or space where like you're looked at as some kind of like nefarious figure that isn't being honest or authentic, because you haven't found that ability to be honest and authentic internally. So we see even now, like, this is a lot of masculine energy doing this work to say, I don't want to be misunderstood and I don't want to be misperceived by the feminine. And that requires me to have to be energetically brave in terms of being able to articulate something that may make me look nefarious, but may come from a place of me feeling anxiety and fear. Like, that's where we see that a lot of this is coming through. That vulnerability is the healing sentiment, because that's that moment of saying, like, it feels more childlike, it feels more vulnerable, but it's also because it feels more healed, it feels more authentic. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is that healing moment. This is that energy. Again, for masculine, this feels like an energetic breakthrough, because if you're moving in this direction with feminine, it's one that you learned how to be energetically vulnerable enough to be able to lead forth and say, like, feminine, will you take my hand and do this with me? And that's the feminine meeting you in that way, putting your heart on your sleeve, having the feminine also put theirs on their sleeve, matching you in that way, is what we see is that energetic path work. And it's not one, for a lot of the masculine energy experiencing this, what feels so profound is it's not one that you feel like you're like leading someone in that direction without them being aware of it. You recognize that it took that full vulnerability. You had to lead first. You had to ask first. You had to create that space of being vulnerable. Like, what do you mean? What do you think we mean when we say go down on one knee? It's not a physical gesture. It's an energetic moment. The vulnerability that is required to come into the state or space of being able to energetically move with someone is the energetic expression of such. So we see even now that for the energy moving in this way, that is that moment that, again, it doesn't feel like you're creating that and someone's following you. It feels like you're doing it together. Masculine and feminine energy that is in the divine union frequency. This is why we see even now that there's a lot of this path work in terms of recognizing and identifying how far you've energetically come to be able to recognize and identify if you're still energetically in the same space you were when you first entered the divine union frequency. Because it's that simple fact that when we're in the divine union frequency, both the circumstances around us changing and also we ourselves changing, it requires more of those checkpoints to say, hey, I know a lot's happened. Are we still good? Are we still in the same space? And even now we see we have to be very conscientious about this, because there could be something that's happening now with little things becoming big things, being able to utilize them into a space of productivity as opposed to letting them be the amplification of some kind of frustration. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Six of Cups in combination with our Two of Cups. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification. See what I mean here? Look at this. Keep going back and forth. Back and forth right now. We've got here our Devil card. So, masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. This is that moment. I keep getting here. Something that's so important right now is the reminder that love is a verb. Love is a verb. Love is hard. It is a hard frequency to maintain. It is triggering. It is difficult. It is frustrating. We make the intentional choice to maintain that frequency, not because it's the only thing that we feel. It's because we make the intentional choice to maintain that frequency. And on days like this, it can feel very difficult too, because it's that amplification of wanting or feeling that inclination of letting, like, doing the energetically easy thing. Even now, with some of that like small problem becoming large, a lot of that fear, a lot of those unhealthy coping mechanisms, a lot of those bad modalities of thought that rise up to the surface. I gotta tell you right now, when you come into a healing gesture, it's not because those go away. It's not because you're like, I don't ever have those things happen. It's that you don't let them overrule what you are creating energetically with another. So we see even now it can seem so difficult for so much of this energy right now, even in the divine union frequency, is that feeling, all of those feelings, even as the love may feel like it's intensifying right now, some of those smaller, more energetically difficult things, those unhealed coping mechanisms, those bad modalities of thought, even potentially unhealed karmic connections, feel like they're like, they become a little bit more overwhelming today. I told you some of that molehill becoming an energetic mountain today that feels like it almost requires that sense of looking towards something and saying from a practical perspective and being like, yes, but that is that moment that amplifies the sense that when we move forward in this way, we navigate it energetically in a way that, like, it's not pretending that those things don't exist. It's being able to address them in a way that feels like it is positive. It feels like it is pouring gold on the cracks. It feels like you're not experiencing a moment of ignoring something, because that's not how you fix something. It is being able to address something in a way that feels like it creates a positive, supportive circumstance, even in the face or space of difficulty. That is utilizing the gift and the empowerment of the Mercury retrograde in a way that feels like it allows for energetic breakthroughs, right? The retrograde doesn't break things. The retrograde brings up flaws so that they can be better addressed going forward. That is the gift of them. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. This is that feeling. Again, I got to stress, the only thing I want to remind you of is don't you dare get righteous at this point. Because this is that energy that, again, whatever happened that led you to find one another, whatever happened that led you to come into that space, you healed. You were not energetically perfect, nor are you energetically perfect now of coming into divine union. You may feel like you're with an energy that feels like that that acceptance point makes you feel more energetically perfect, but that's because you did a lot of that work. And even now, making sure that you don't become polarized as you move into the divine union frequency is so very, very important. Because that's that moment that, like, again, it's the amplification of saying, like, I want to put it this way. The difference of looking at someone and saying it's you and me against everything around us in, like, a beautiful, happy way. We're just going to spread the love, versus being like, it's us against the world. Like, don't get like that. Okay. Don't get like that. Get like the other one. Okay. Cause that's that moment that, again, it's sometimes when we feel that strength, when we feel that security of what we're building with another, that light can cast very stark shadows. But you got to remember that, like, that's not something changing. That's something that you're observing in a different way. Okay? Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is why I say, even now today, I swear, like, everyone in separation, please don't get triggered today. Because what's happening right now is, again, that feeling, being able to navigate a point where you're looking at a past experience, being able to practically apply it to the present, and is almost, again, amplifying just how far you've energetically come. Because this isn't saying to me that there's energy right now looking at the past and wishing to go back to the past. This is energy that's literally able right now to utilize something from the past to help them stay on the path of finding what feels like the right energetic counterpart energy. And it's taking a little bit of, like, discernment, if you will. So that's why we see, even now, it's so vitally important to stay on the energetic path with that, and not to let yourself fall into those unhealthy coping mechanisms, those bad modalities of thought, or reaching out to those unhealed karmic connections that may have required you to learn these lessons in the first place. So just be able to focus on the positive today. Don't start triggering yourself back into the negative that you're healing from. Final card for today's read, between our Four of Wands in combination with our Devil card energy. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Seven of Pentacles in its reversal. And again, I have to stress, one of the problems with the energy in this intensity is it can create what feels like a point of energetic frustration, which feels like a little bit of that. The best way I want to say it is energetic impatience. Energetic impatience. And that's why I'm saying today it is so incredibly, vitally important that you don't allow yourself to be triggered today, because the cards out here today could go very positively if you utilize this in a practical way, or you can get really, 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 really triggered today if you let yourself feel that amplification point of anything negative that you're experiencing and let that dominate your energetic experience. Let that moment of feeling energetic frustration empower you to find new energetic solutions to anything that is energetically bothering you. Don't act on them today. Don't act on them. Let it inspire you. Look at this, inspire you to create that energetic plan, because that's that moment that feels like the difference in between feeling a fit of inspiration through frustration that may guide you forward today, i.e. a breakthrough, versus feeling a moment of frustration that you allow becoming a point of inspiration that could move you away from your goals. I'm going to say that again. Let today be a moment of frustration that empowers inspiration versus a moment of feeling inspired because of a frustration, right? Those are very similar things, but they're very different. Being inspired by a frustration can lead to an energetic breakthrough. Being frustrated and then being inspired to do something from that frustration point does not lead to a breakthrough. It potentially leads to a worsening of an energetic condition. So please, 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 in all facets today, be patient. Utilize this type of energy to create that energetic path forward, not to have a point of being energetically triggered. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now, Ace of Wands. I'm going to say this again. The desire to want to take some kind of energetic action today because of frustrations is energetically exceptionally high. I just want to remind you, if you have a good idea, then the best way to validate a good idea is to sit on that idea for a minute, especially if it's something that just came to you and you feel the overpowering urge to do it. Today is the kind of day that maybe you should say to yourself, if it's a good idea now, it'll probably be a good idea in 5 minutes. If it's a good idea in 5 minutes, it'll probably be a good idea in 5 hours. If it's a good idea in 5 hours, it'll probably be a good idea in like a day. Have that moment of being able to extend that feeling of inspiration right now, because that is that validate, like the being able to extend the inspiration moment is going to be a little bit of that energetic validation, if you will. So just be a little mindful of that today, okay? That is our daily collective read for today. I'd like to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. I'd also like to remind you, please, that booking on my website is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. Also, I please encourage you to follow me over on my Substack. If you're not, we are now offering this daily collective read there as a podcast. We are also beginning Our class journey, we are doing a monthly class program. Each month we will be focusing on a new card in the tarot. Our first class will be on April 17th. We will be starting our card reads with the Fool. I would love it if you could join me there with that class. Your subscription grants you access to that class, as well as all of the materials therein contained in that class work. You'll have access to all of the classes via that subscription. Also, you'll have access to a one-on-one chat with me to answer any of your personal tarot questions if you are a subscriber. And if you become a founding member of my Substack, that will also include a free 1-hour mentorship class with me alongside those classes. I want to thank you guys also, and I would like to encourage you to also take a survey that I currently have. You can find that link over on my Linktree. It takes you exactly 2 minutes. We are looking about doing some destination tarot retreats, and I would love your insight on where you might like to go. The first 50 people who take that tarot survey will be enrolled in a contest. I will be giving out a free 15-minute reading. I would love it if you guys could participate. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.